All right. Hello, everybody. This lecture will be on Module 1 of Chapter 2, and the subject will be identifying a topic area for your scientific study. All right. So the first step of the research process involves finding a research idea. And here, the goal is twofold. One is identifying some topic that you find interesting, which could potentially lead to an interesting hypothesis. And the good news is almost any topic you choose can potentially lead to an interesting, worthy hypothesis. But in order to do so, you'll have to figure out what is known and what is unknown. So the second goal of step 1 is to figure out what questions remain to be answered concerning your topic of interest. And once you've done that, we can move on to step 2, which is forming an actual hypothesis. All right, so what are some possible sources that can serve as inspiration for choosing some research topic? And maybe you have personal interests or curiosities that relate to a topic like depression, self-esteem, learning, memory, personality, or a specific behavior such as drug use, bullying, prejudice, or maybe a specific population that you're interested in. Again, this can be children, teachers, ex-convicts, soldiers, religious people, atheists, some population that you find interesting. Any one of these, any topic, population, or behavior can serve as a great starting point for choosing your research topic and area of interest. Other possible sources. How about casual observation? And we alluded to this in the last chapter. So as you move through the world, pause and reflect on your surroundings. Look at the behavior of people as individuals, as groups, maybe the behavior of animals, the behavior of people in different environments, and see if anything interesting stands out to you. You can also explore reports of observations made by other people. And the sources you consult for ideas and inspiration don't have to be quote unquote serious or academic. You can, in principle, use comics, newspapers, reality TV shows, movies. All of that, in theory, is fair game. And it's certainly the case that many great novels and even television shows and movies might be rich in psychological insights and all sorts of intriguing hypotheses that can be derived from these stories and the characters. So if inspiration were to flourish from such a non-serious source, don't let it pass you by, is the point. Another great source of ideas and topics is to focus on practical problems that can be solved or at least illuminated via scientific research. And if you want to get funding and grants, this is also a good way to go. Solve some problem. Make the world a better place. So what are some practical problems that psychology might address? Well, there are many examples that we can come up with. For example, what's the best way to learn and retain information? What is the most efficient way to study? What methods can alleviate stress or anxiety? What is the best way to visually represent data in an educational context? How do you create a user interface that is intuitive and friendly? How do you create a user interface that will minimize distractions For example, the various knobs, buttons, and screens that you may find in a vehicle. All of these questions rely on knowledge about the human psyche and can be addressed using the methods that we will discuss in this course. Okay, so here we can make a distinction between two kinds of research, basic research and applied research. So applied research is research that is applied for the purpose of solving some practical problem. By contrast, basic research is aimed at solving theoretical problems. So basic research is when a scientist pursues some interest or curiosity while prioritizing knowledge for the sake of knowledge without considering how the results of these studies would solve a problem or benefit humanity in any way. So again, knowledge for the sake of knowledge being the essence of basic research. Now, I do think it's important to emphasize that these are two sides of the same coin. I'm talking about basic and applied research. And what I mean by that is the following. So applied research is virtually always informed and grounded in the discoveries that were made by basic research. Hence, most applied research that has yielded anything useful to humanity would not have been possible without the discoveries and the foundation laid by basic research. So in the 1800s, Michael Faraday was the first to show that electricity and magnetism were intimately connected, that they were, in a sense, part of the same force, electromagnetism. And his work was being funded by the British government. And so one day he was summoned to Parliament and asked to present on what he's working on. And so he shows them, you can pass a wire through a magnetic field and some meter kind of moves, showing that these forces are interconnected. And allegedly, the politicians who were funding him looked at this and were unimpressed, to say the least. And they said, "This is what we're funding?" And allegedly, they asked them, "Of what benefit is this to the British Empire?" To which Faraday allegedly responded, "I don't know what benefit it is today, but someday you are going to tax it." And sure enough, this discovery was the foundation of electricity. Without this discovery, we would not have electricity running through our homes. So when conducting basic research, it is often very difficult to predict exactly how and when that research will yield useful results. But it is difficult to imagine how applied research can exist without basic research at its foundation. And finally, last but not least, another source of ideas for research studies can come from theories that already exist in the literature. Specifically, you might look at different theories that are being debated, that are influential in some field, and you might ask, what predictions do those theories make? And can you test some of those predictions by running an experiment? Or in many cases, you may find that there are 2 or 3 or more different theories that are proposed to explain the same phenomenon. And in such situations, you might ask, are there studies that you can run, studies that you can design that might adjudicate between these different theories to see which of the theories better explains the data and the phenomenon in question?